Once there lived an old man and an old woman. The old man had his own daughter, and the old woman her own. The old woman pampered her daughter, doted her, and made the old man's daughter do all the work, scolded her for everything, abused her, and didn't give her enough food. The girl consented to all work and did all she was ordered. She did everything awesome possum. People looked at her and cannot praise sufficiently. And about the old woman daughter they just said, "Here she is, she cannot weave and spin. Here she is, idle and lazy." The old woman became even angrier and more quarrelsome. She ate the girl's head off and think of nothing else but just to kill her. One day the old man went to town to the market, and an evil old woman colluded with her daughter. "Now we will do this hateful girl in." The old woman called the girl and ordered her, "Go to the wood and bring some brushwood." "We have quite enough brushwood," the girl answered. The old woman started crying and stamping her feet, fell on the girl together with her daughter and pushed her off the hut. The girl saw that there was nothing to be done, and she went to the wood. The frost was crackling, the wind was howling, and there was a heavy snowstorm. The old woman with her daughter were in the warm hut and said to each other, "That hateful girl will not come back. She will freeze up the wood." And the girl went into the forest, stayed under a thick fir tree, and didn't know where to go and what to do. Suddenly she heard the noise and crackles. It was Morozko riding through a fir grove, birch forest, and skipping from tree to tree, crunching and clicking. He went down from the fir tree and said, "How do you do, fairy maiden? Why have you come to my wood in such a severe cold?" Morozko have listened to her and said, "No, fairy maiden, you were not sent here for brushwood. Well, if you come to my wood, then show me what a mistress you are." She was given a tow and a distaff. "Spin threads out of this tow, weave cloth, and sew me a shirt out of that cloth." Morozko said that and left. The girl didn't think much and started to work at once. Her fingers were frozen, she should breathe to warm them, and worked on again. And the whole night like that, she didn't stop working. She thought just about one thing, how to sew the shirt. In the morning she heard the noise and crack near the fir tree again. That Morozko came. He looked at the shirt and praised. "Well, fairy maiden, you worked well." He brought Morozko a large forged trunk, put it in front of the girl and said, "Like word, like reward." After that, he put on a warm fur coat on the girl, tied a patterned kerchief around her head, and led her to the road. "Goodbye, fairy maiden. Here you will find good people to help you to get home." He said that and disappeared as if he were not there. At that time the old man came back home. "Where is my daughter?" he asked. "She went to the wood for brushwood and didn't come back." The old man was anxious, didn't start on harnessing the horse, and drove to the wood. As he glanced, his daughter was standing near the road, well dressed and merry. The old man seated her in the sledge, put Morozko's trunk with presents there in the sledge, and took her home. An evil old woman with her daughter was sitting at table eating pies and said, "Well, she will not come back home alive. The old man is going to bring just her bones." And the dog was barking near the stove. "Bow wow, bow wow. The old man's daughter is going to bring such expensive presents, and no one will marry old woman's daughter." The old woman gave pies to the dog and bit her with a poker. "Shut up, nasty. Just say, the old woman's will be married and old man's daughter will be brought dead." But the dog repeated all the time, "The old man's daughter will bring presents, and old woman's daughter will not be married." Here the gate squeaked, the door to the hut was opened, and the girl came in well dressed and rosy. The people brought a large trunk following her, decorated with frosty patterns. The old woman and her daughter rushed to the trunk, started to take out and examine the costumes, and put them into the benches, and questioned, "Who gave you such an expensive present?" As far as the old woman knew that Morozko gave that present to the girl, they began to bustle, wrap up her daughter warmly, gave her the bundle with pies, and told the old man to take her to the wood. "She is going to bring 2 such trunks." The old man brought the old woman's daughter to the wood and left her under a high fir tree. She is standing looking around, squeaking and scolding. "Why that Morozko did not come for such a long time? Where has he? And so disappeared?" Here she heard noise and crackle. Morozko was riding through a fir grove, birch forest, and skipping from tree to tree, crunching and clicking. He went down from the fir tree and asked, "Why have you come to me, fairy maiden?" "Don't you know yourself? I have come for expensive presents." Morozko smiled and said, "Just show me first what a mistress you are. Knit me the mittens." He gave her a knitting needle and a ball of wool and left. The old woman's daughter threw the knitting needles into the snow, pushed the ball of the wool with her leg. "Look what that old one came up with. Who ever heard of such thing as to knit in such a severe cold? So I can get my fingers frostbitten." In the morning it cracked and crunches. Morozko came. "Well, fairy maiden, show me how you copy my work." The old woman's daughter rushed at him. "What a work, old noodle! Are you blind? You can't see? I'm chilled to the bones waiting for you here, and I'm more than half dead." "Well, like work, like a word," Morozko said. He shook his bird, and snowstorm and blizzard began. All paths, all roads were covered, and Morozko disappeared as if he were not there. The old woman's daughter dragged herself along without knowing the road and came to a deep ravine. There she was covered with the snow. In the morning the old woman shook the old man very early, woke him up, and ordered him to go to the wood to take her daughter. She herself started to bake pies. The dog was sitting under the bench and barking, "Bow wow, bow wow, bow wow. The old woman's daughter is not going to come back from the wood." The old woman threw pies to the dog and stroked her with the poker painfully. "Shut up, nasty. Eat the pie and never say such things. Better say, old woman's daughter is going to bring expensive gifts, and the old man's daughter will not find a fiancé." The dog eats a pie and repeats again. Bow wow, bow wow, bow wow. The old man's daughter will marry the old woman's daughter, will not come back from the wood. The old woman was startled. What if something bad is going to happen with my daughter? What if they lose the expensive gifts on the road? I will run following the old man. She put off the fur coat and ran to the wood. The snowstorm was howling and reeling even stronger. The whole road was covered. The evil woman lost her way and she was covered with snow. The old man was looking for an old woman's daughter for some time and couldn't find. He came back now. There were no old woman. He gathered neighbors. They all started to look for the old woman and her daughter. They looked for and looked for. They dug over old snow drifts and still didn't find them. And the old woman started to live together with his daughter. And when spring came, a fine young man, a smith from the smithy, asked her in marriage. They celebrated a merry wedding and lived in love and harmony. And so they live now.